Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Quiet Storm Collective, a space where stories of faith, healing, resilience, and purpose are honored. Today's conversation is rooted in love, truth, and partnership. I'm joined by Sherkila and Mark. Together, they share they've shared life, love, and faith for 15 years as a serial discordant. Is that how you say it, Sherkila?
The discorded.
Discordant couple. Thank you both for being here. How are you doing tonight?
We're
Well,
doing fine.
hello.
Okay, let's jump into our questions. Let's begin at the beginning. How did the two of you meet and what drew you to one another?
Ooh. Well, I had just gotten out the hospital uh year prior, and I had moved to a new neighborhood, and I got hired on as a barmaid. And I was walking through the parking lot, and I smelled him before I saw him. And then I was like, who is, I asked his friend, who is that? And he was like, that's my partner. And I was like, but it was something about him. I knew he was different. And I was like, wow, I got to meet him. I said, well, introduce me to him. At first, he was trying to play hard to get, all standoffish and stuff like that. But that's how we met. Me going to throw boxes in the garbage can, and he was standing outside talking to his friend. And that's how we met. You want to elaborate?
That ain't how it happened. No, yes, it is. It was a it was a dark night on a bumpy road. No. Um, that's basically about what happened because I was already from the neighborhood, but I transplanted back to the neighborhood. Um, and I already knew everybody in the city because I'm from the city, but she didn't know the depth of how deep I was into the city, but she was quiet. She seen me. I seen her. Our eyes locked briefly.
Mm,
But it was cool because I wasn't really looking for anything. I was just in my neighborhood. And in the city, everybody knew everybody. But she made it be known. She wanted to know who I was. And I reciprocated.
And we were both separated from our spouses. So we weren't really, it wasn't really like trying to be no relationship because we started out as friends. And then over the time, it grew into something else.
That's right. It did, huh?
We did. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause we used to just talk
mm-hmm.
and like I said, I had transplanted back because I was going through something and I wasn't looking for nothing.
Right.
But she would see me with my daughter, and I would
Mm-hmm.
go to church and I would take my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that a lot of people noticed because she had found out. She says, wow, you really know the word. And she said, but it's even cooler just to see a man taking his child by himself to church. And I was like, oh, I do that. And I said, because that's my baby girl, so she got to see me on every level. And I'm teaching her. And she say, so do you read? And she found out that I was an avid reader just as she is. And so going to church, she learned something else about me. That when the preacher was preaching, he could not preach me.
I told him he got that gift. He got a gift. And the funny thing about it, he would say, his daughter, he said, my daughter ain't gonna talk to nobody. She not gonna talk to no strangers. So
Mhm.
one night they were in the parking lot and he was conversing with his friend. And I walked up to her. I said, hey, pretty girl, how you doing? I said, what's your name? She said, my name is Sydney.
She
And
betrayed me.
he turned around and we
My
were just
daughter
having a
betrayed me.
genuine conversation. And
Mm.
he was like, my daughter don't like nobody. You must have something special about you. Because my daughter don't talk to strangers. I said, well, she got her new friend now. I said, ain't I your friend? She said, yes. And then she asked me my name, and I told her my name is Miss Keela. She said, okay, Miss Keela, we're friends now. And
Yeah,
that was the
Mm.
end of that.
yeah,
That's very powerful.
yeah. Because she seen us around. My daughter wouldn't speak to anybody. She had this thing, and then she learned something. I hope your people don't take this wrong, because I used to talk to my daughter. Me and my daughter used to talk. She was a baby girl, and she knew if I didn't mess with somebody, she would look at him, and we'd walk off and say, she showed Keely. She say, "My daddy don't mess with cowards. He don't get out like that." And she said,
Mm.
"What you say?" And she say, "Yeah, he batted. He don't play with cowards. And then he don't
Wow.
like these thinking skin, blue-eyed devils either." I'm sorry, but I was like, I wasn't teaching her nothing. But I told her, I said, don't you never let nobody play in your face.
Mhm.
I said, if you don't like them, you don't deal with them. And I taught her that because I wanted her to know that when she with me, I'm who she need to be with. She ain't need nobody else to mess with her.
Right. Okay. My next question for you all is, when did HIV become a part of the conversation in your relationship? And how was the moment navigated together?
Well, one night after getting off of work, I was waiting on the bus and it had started raining. And he told the head barmaid, I'll take her home. And he said, is it all right if I take you home? I said, yeah, sure. And I'm saying, you ain't gonna kill me, is you? I was being silly, but I said, you ain't gonna kill me, is you? He said, no, no. He said, I want to show you something. So I'm sitting on the like this. If I have to roll out, jump out and roll. Um,
Because you remember when I said, why you sitting on the door?
yeah, he kept saying, why you sitting on the door? I was like, said in my mind, because if you do something, I'm gonna make you and I'm gonna jump out and roll, like that. But then when we got to his house, his he him and his cousin owned the house and they lived next door to Trina the rapper's mother. So they were like, I'm starstruck now. I'm like, you know. So, but when we walked in his house, the way the house was just laid out, I was just in awe, like out of a magazine. So we're
Mhm.
sitting down, we were talking, and he was like, well, I got something to tell you. And I said, well, I got something to tell you too. So proceeds to tell me his situation. And I said, well, I'm HIV positive. He said, yeah, I already know. I'm like, well, dog, how you, who told you? He said, well, they around in the neighborhood telling me not to mess with you because you got that. Back then they say that thing.
Mhm.
I said, well, yes, I'm HIV positive and I'm undetectable. And he was like, okay, so what would I have to do? So that opened
Mhm.
up the conversation.
And it
And
wasn't and it wasn't sexual. It was just like, so I don't have a real deep understanding. I only know what the streets taught me. I
Right.
said, but since you living with this thing, I said, won't you educate me? I said,
Mhm.
so because all that stuff I done heard in the street, I said, I don't know. And I said, because I have lost friends
Mhm.
because maybe they were uneducated and they didn't know. I said, so educate me. And she says, really? You really want to know? And I says, yeah, because if we gonna be together, if we gonna talk, if we gonna be friends, if somebody say something foul to you, I want to know how to respond. I don't want to just be hot-headed and saying you being ignorant. Why are you talking to somebody like that? And she broke it down to me. She gave me the do's and the don'ts. She told me the hows and what's can and can't hurt you and what is a myth and what's not a myth.
Mhm.
And for months, you know, boom. As we started hanging out, really hanging out, I had gotten so comfortable with her that it didn't even register no more, because we would go and eat. She would have a cup or something to drink, and I would drink behind her, and she'd look at me. I said, but you already done told me. I said, so whatever it is, I said, you ain't trying to hurt me. And she said, I would never hurt you. And she said, I would never lie to you. And she said, don't lie to me. She said, because if you do something to somebody out there, and if we ever were to hook up, she said, that's what will kill you, because it'll trigger me. If that person not, and I learned.
Right.
And so just her being genuine with me and honest gave me a whole sense, a different perspective of how decent she was, because I already had a feeling, but she was growing on me.
Y'all, y'all so that's powerful though. What do you remember most about the early days of learning how to love each other and be honest with grace?
Um, I think the first time the condom broke, and
Mm,
I was so afraid. I mean, when I say terrified, because at the time we didn't know about U equal U yet.
right.
So I was terrified, and I cried, and I cried, and he was like, "Baby, we too deep in now."
Mm,
I said, "But I want you to go get tested, please, 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 please go do it for me, because I would never want to take you away from your daughter." And he went and got tested, and I got more educated about, long as I was undetectable, I could not pass.
Then you taught me about your meds.
Yeah, and
She taught me her meds.
yeah,
I learned her meds.
mm-hmm.
my viral load, learned my
I went to doctors. I went to with her. And we were in. And then when I would go and get tested. We say, okay, boom, 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 boom. The rotation, when they would say, okay, we'll come back. And it's like after, okay, in, it was like, oh, we all good. We do that now. So whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And I say, I'm gonna be man enough to be responsible. But I believe the Lord gave you me, gave you me to take you away. And I told her, I said, I don't want nothing else. Because what I was going through, what she gave me prior to my separation, going through that divorce, she gave me, because what I gave that other lady, she was well off. When we got the divorce, I gave her everything. And she was like, you know, you own these things. I was like, it ain't about that. I said, you
his peace.
you don't nag me.
I was his peace.
And I used to drink then. I say, you allow me to have me a drink, and you don't raise your voice. You don't question what I do. And I never seen you happy. She allowed me to be who I wanted to be.
Right.
Because somewhere else, I wasn't being fully myself. But she gave me that. And so when she would stay with me, she would go, you know, you went to sleep. Because when we started hanging out, we first spent time, she'd say, you sleep on your back, and if I move you up, I said, yeah, I'm about that. I don't be moving. And finally, I was able to sleep. She gave me. And so I told her, I says, I got my peace back.
Mm-hmm.
I said, because you don't trip. She never said, oh, don't drink. She never said, oh, don't hang out with your boys. Or she never, all that was the prelude to me leaving that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was genuinely having fun with her. She got my jokes. She understood my music.
Mm-hmm.
And then she allowed me what I couldn't show that other person. I showed her that I could pray.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Lord.
And I
What I
prayed for
say.
her. When she stayed with us, I prayed for her. I woke up in the morning and the Spirit of the Lord woke me up.
Mm-hmm.
I prayed for her while she was asleep. And when she woke up, because I had never done that for anybody.
Wow.
That's something I ain't never shared with her. She never knew that. I never did that with anybody. But I prayed for her. And when she awoke that morning, I was walking through the house
Singing
praising God.
and singing.
My cousin got up and he said, oh, we finna get a sermon this morning. And she woke up, she had on my boxers and the t-shirt, and she sat there and started crying. Because they said he has that.
Mm-hmm.
Say everybody tell him he's supposed to be a preacher.
He is.
But she gave me what you asked me was my peace.
Your peace.
Mhm.
We have a question from one of the listeners. Did you guys experience any hate or negativity from each other's family or friends?
Oh no. My friends and family love Mr. Mark. You hear me? Aunties, they love him to death. My children, they call at first it was rocky because me and my children were alone for a minute. So when he came in, it was like he took their mama from them, you know. They
Right.
gave him a little rough, they gave him something in the beginning, but the grandkids, they loved him. They call him grandpa. They pass me by and go to grandpa. But
Mhm.
my friends, they love him. Everybody love him.
When I would bring the grandkids, her grandkids, when we would take them to the house, and her daughters, when they first came to the house and seeing, we call it the Ponderosa. When they seen the Ponderosa, it was like, wow, he lives in this type of house.
Right.
And Simone's, what does he do? So a lot of them thought I was,
A drug dealer.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
They thought he was selling.
and they were
It
they were
was fathers,
skeptical
fathers from the truth.
because we had the big cars out in the front, and when she started being with me, I allowed her to drive all the vehicles, and all of them was Lincoln Town cars
And
and
I
the
would have
trucks.
my spend the night bag on a Friday. I would go from Friday to Monday, but then I would start going for weeks because I was like, wait a minute, y'all grown. I ain't got to be here. It's food in the refrigerator, the bills paid. Mama, see you later.
In my family, we're close, but you know how you get distant.
Mm-hmm.
We close to a point, but after you lose matriarchs in your family, I'm kind of like, I'm solo of my family, and we had a great relationship. But they move away, you move away. So, but no one gave us any pressure, because I'm older and always been solo. So it is what it is.
Right. Wow. For those who may not understand what a serial discoordinate relationship is, how do you explain your dynamic to others?
I just tell him I'm HIV positive and he's HIV negative.
Mm-hmm.
And long as I take stay it's called U equal U, untransmittable. I can't get the virus on him. Right now I'm undetectable. My C4 is 896. My doctors look at me in amazement because because at one time I had an AIDS diagnosis with 24 hours to live, 96 pounds. They didn't expect me to walk out the hospital. Here I am, 23 years later. They look at me, even Miami, we relocated to Deltona, Florida. They looked at me in amazement because they know how I looked and where I came from. Because they was like, I didn't know you can have that many infections at all. I had it, I tell people from the rooter to the tutor, from the ground to the soul, it was a mess. And he came in as I was getting back. Got up to 150 pounds. And
you weren't even that heavy when
well,
we
that's
first
right.
met. You was only
125.
if that. But you know when old something like me come around, can't nothing but gain weight. Okay, all right. Now it's what I tell people.
Behave, Mr. Mark.
All right. Well, what I tell people is what God gives you, He can take away. But what He gave me was what He wanted me to have. So you never know what you're gonna get, because you can get somebody all pretty and be crazy as a bed bug.
Right.
And here it is, you in trouble. But again, this is my piece. And if you ask me, I say she healthier than the most bastards walking around. That's what I say. HIV and out.
Right. To follow up on what you said, Mr. Mark, as a HIV negative partner, what did it take for you to step fully in love without fear?
What did it take? Listen, I'm gonna say this. This woman, right here, this woman, she has. I've been with women in my life. We've all been with other people. And the funniest thing is that all my exes are her best friends. That's crazy. But by her being this person and talking to them people has shown me something. You know, black folks don't mess with nobody after they let them go. That's just how, and then not just black folks, most folks, but they don't have relationships. But she has brought me full circle in my life to where I am. I'm a recluse to myself, just with her, and it's all I want. I don't need the streets. She allowed me to go through my spells. I've never had to be ugly to her because it's just not warranted. I mean, when you got a woman who's just, you got some women who say they love God, but don't want to acknowledge what God says to do. She told me that God is the head. You're the head of the house. You submit to God, and I submit to you. And she said, you've always been submissive to the Father. And really what got me is that I never had to be ugly to her. Anybody ever stepped out of line in front of her, she done seen it. She ain't that type of woman that if you come at my woman, she let me be the man. And she's always allowed me to be the man. Peace. She understands my peace. And that's what has made me love her, adore her, and ask God if somebody mess with her for permission to go ahead and end them. Yeah, that part.
Sherkila.
I started to do Barry White on you, but How
Now,
you
Mr.
doing?
Sherkila, to
Mhm.
follow up on what Mark said, how has being loved openly and without conditions impacted your healing journey?
Ooh, it took me a while to trust after being hurt so much.
Mhm.
And when he used to tell me you're beautiful and lift my chin up and look me in my eyes and tell me, I knew in my heart, but you know how you be scared because I know he was. Oh, this man gonna be. It ain't real. I used to have to pitch myself. It's just real, and it wasn't until one time. Back then I was on like 23 pills, and I
Mm.
messed myself, and I boohoo cried. He picked me up, took my clothes off, put me in the shower, and bathed me, and that was it. That was it. I was like, this man has to love me to do this for me. And I was flabbergasted, because I never had no one to just take their time with me. And I was like, wow, just wow. And that's when I knew I was in love right then. Even though he asked me 3 times to marry him, and I kept putting it off. I was like,
I,
yeah, you asked me
I
three
know,
times.
baby.
You asked me he asked me 3 times. And it was like, it wasn't until my mother passed away.
Mm.
Um, and we had to go to my god sister's house, and he pulled the sheet off her and he was talking to her. He was like, Gwen, you really did this a day before our birthday, because both of their birthdays are October 24th, and we were planning something big for her, because you
Mm.
couldn't tell my mother that I was gonna do something for you, because honey, she'd have been calling all week long, when you're coming, when you're coming. So um I was so distraught, I was just gone. And the paramedics, they wanted to take me, and before they took her, he said, no, no, let me clean her up.
Mm.
After all my mom tried to destroy our relationship, call the police, it was a mess with her. But he said, no, let me clean her up. He
Mm.
cleaned her up and put my mom on a fresh gown for them to take her. And one of my aunts say, if you don't marry this man, I'm gonna
Right.
marry him.
Mm.
And the following year, we got married. Because I knew then that side right there I hadn't seen. But
Mm.
for him, after all she took him through, for him still to have that compassion and empathy, and he was there from the day she passed all the way up to the funeral. He was, held my hand, watched me. He watched me like a hawk. Because I had stopped eating and everything. I had stopped eating.
Mm. How do the two of you balance advocacy work, public visibility, and protecting your sacred space of your marriage?
Well, I'm an open book, but he always say, now since I'm traveling more, he
Mhm.
always say he had to pencil me in on his calendar. But I make time for us.
Mm.
We heavy on date nights. We heavy on sitting at the table eating together and having a genuine conversation. We heavy on praying together and praying for
Mm.
each other. Sometimes he'll say, baby, get the Bible, read this word, read this scripture. And then we'll sit down and discuss the what we just read. As far as public visibility, everybody know I'm his wife and he's my husband. And they respect those boundaries.
Because I don't like people. I'm ugly. So I don't have that problem. I'm just saying.
No, they ask for him when I go places. They say, "Where your husband at?" I say, he's at this place, he's that place. But this year he's gonna start traveling with me more.
You know what? I enjoy. I had to tell my wife, everybody ain't your friend.
Mm.
I know who you associate yourself with, and I'm glad you have these associations. But
Mm-hmm.
always be mindful because, like she just said, she open book, and I don't like that. And I tell her that all the time. I said, you can't take Pookie to the party because all
Mm.
parties ain't for everybody, and don't go to everybody party. And so she knows me. I don't have no friends.
Mm.
I only deal with the people I deal with away from here. Do I miss Miami? No. Born and raised in the 305 all the way live. But Deltona is where I roam. I don't miss nothing. My peace is rooted in her.
Mm.
Her success is her success. I revel in it. I share in it. But I don't want to overshadow it because it's your time for you to walk into your thing. It's always been there. You just ain't have no backing.
Mm.
So I got her back on every corner, up and down, all four walls. I have to get her sometimes to understand that. And all your dreams you can't share.
Mm.
Only time you share what you got to share is when God said it, because that's what he told Joseph.
Mm.
Wait till the wise man asks you, because then he going to reward you. But don't give your pearls to the swine out there, because there's a lot of that happening. So I'm very mindful of where we are today and where we've been and where we came from. Very easily can you fall back. The trust and the open conversations that we have are what keeps us grounded in each other. Ain't nothing out there. It's hard for me though, because when I walk out there, they be at me. You know, they just be at me.
Hey, I have a comment from one of the listeners. She said, "I know that's right. A family that prays together stays together."
To the
Yes,
fullest. To the fullest.
yes. Because some
Um,
nights, some days I get up in the morning. I get up. I'm an early riser, and
mhm.
I come through this house praying, worshiping, meditating to God. I get my oil and I just go to anoint him all the way
Mm.
down. And then I get back in bed. And he was like, I know he was like, what's wrong with this? But that's how God wakes me up in the morning to do something. And I always am mindful because I always tell him, God deal with me in my dreams when I'm sleeping. Because he know that's when my mind is calm and I
Mhm.
ain't moving. So that's when he gives me something and I get up, come read the scriptures, read and start singing or anoint him. Some days he walked down in my office and I be in there just praising and worshiping by myself. Some days he come back from work. I be sitting on the bed in the dark and he'll turn the light on. But he know not to bother me because that's when I'm in that
Yeah.
space.
Mhm. You communicating with God.
That's very
Mhm.
important to me. I watch you,
Mhm.
and over these 15, 16, 17, almost years, I've learned to be very mindful. I don't crowd her space. And I used to get up in the mornings and walk through here and watch her praying.
Mhm.
And we would have our own church session. I'm
Mm.
talking about start crying, praying. It's a beautiful thing when you praise God. It's nothing more sacred than that because these here feelings, when you communicate together, say when two or more are gathered in his name,
He'll be in the midst.
Amen.
prayers are answered because he's present. But with our God, he's always present and we're always mindful. For the first time in my life, a lot of times I was counted out
Mm.
how I was living. So to me to be this age, I can say it's good. I wouldn't be mad if I left this world because I don't owe anybody anything. And I am at peace with my God. This is the first time in my life I've ever made plans to take care of somebody in the event that I leave this life. Besides, you know, arrangements, funeral plans, all these things, because this is something being responsible, what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And she's made me more responsible. I ain't gonna be on no milk carton. You ain't got to start no GoFundMe page. Because now she says that we need to have everything in order. And being in order is what God had you to do. Do everything what? Decent and in order.
Mm. Mm. What would you say to someone living with HIV who believes love and marriage may not be possible for them?
Well, tell them to sit down with us
Mm.
and let us walk you through it. We'll tell you the do's and the don'ts. But if it ain't what your heart want, then you won't have it. Because the heart won't what the heart won't. But honesty, communication,
and trust.
it's possible. Because living with HIV is not a death sentence.
Mm-mm.
See, they counted a lot of people out. But if you still here, God counted you in.
Amen. This is a powerful comment from one of your family members. I can truly say God has put them together. When I do talk to Mark, which is my uncle, it allows it's always good advice. And Sherkila is great as well when giving advice when we talk. I love her. I love them both. See, y'all make a difference in others' lives that you don't even see. I can remember the first time I had a conversation with the both of y'all, and I was like, wow, that's what it means to be loved out loud. That's what it means to put God first in a relationship. That's what it means to love without limits.
Mm.
So thank y'all for sharing that purpose with others so that you know it's possible, but you got to put in the work.
Yeah, because the first 3 years it was kind of rough. We went through some things, some difficult times, but we persevered. It was a lot of things that in my addiction, his drinking, and we had to put down. We like, you know what? It's time. It's time. When you get sick and tired, being sick and tired,
Mm.
Because
and God will pull at your heart because He know this ain't what you supposed to be doing. And once we got on one accord and on the same page, the blessings just start rolling in.
we
And like
came
I
we
told
came
him,
into agreement
yeah,
together. I told her, I says, because my nephew had passed away,
Mm.
and one of my nieces, baby had passed away. That was hurtful. But I had told her, I says, this would be the last day I'm drinking. And she goes, I said, yeah. I say, because when they tell you, are you gonna go to a class or something? AA? I say AA for quitters. I say, so I'm just done.
Mm.
and I told him, I say, we had to give up some things to receive some things. That'll go
Mm.
with some people's head.
Mm-hmm.
But once we put down everything and gave it over to God, I didn't have to go to no rehab, no treatment. He just took it away because he knew I was ready then.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people that, he had to take some things away from us to give us some things. Look at us, 3 years in a house. They said 2022, at the time we had lost a son. We didn't
Mm.
have no credit. No credit. They said we ain't had no credit. And a friend of mine, she said, get this credit card, pay it off. And he got one and paid it off. And next thing you know, when we went to the bank, we qualified. I'm like, and I knew it wasn't nobody but God in the midst. And how we chose to move here, I was asleep. And I woke him up. And I said, God said it's for us to move. He said,
Mm.
huh? I said, God said for us to move.
I'm gonna share this, and I don't even want to, boy. From no credit to an 830.
Yeah.
Mm.
830.
And it ain't nothing but God. You know how it feels
Mm-hmm.
when you're the lender and not the borrower.
Mm. Mm.
Not saying nothing for nothing. Everybody has family. I love my family dearly, but everybody grew apart and they live their own lives. If you are a loving person, you only wish the best for them people.
Mm-hmm.
But until you start loving yourself, because I watched myself go through 3, 4 different houses. My name. House is not a commodity. It's our home. This is the first time I'm home. It ain't in the real life, but it's where my heart is. This is where my peace is. This is where sanctity is. By the grace of God. You tell somebody who don't believe that it's achievable to with HIV, with somebody who's negative, who's positive, that's a myth. Somebody said to you that you can't possess something, that's a myth. Sacrifice,
Obedience.
obedience, and the willing work is what as what? I ain't talking for that.
I got one last comment for you before we close out. You two are truly amazing. I pray God continues to bless you both and continue to let him use you both. You guys have called you guys have been called to this space for such a time as this. Keep letting God tell y'all testimony. I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for your honesty, your faith, and your example of what love looks like when it's rooted in truth and purpose. Your story reminds us that HIV does not define love, faith, commitment, or grace. To the listeners, thank you for joining us. Please share this conversation with your friends and family. And starting next week, our name will change to Toya's Quiet Storm Collections. Thank you, and you all have a good night.